Hello, and welcome to the Wyoming State Museum video series that we're calling Firearms Friday. My name's Evan Green. I'm a volunteer at the museum, and I've been blessed with the opportunity to assist the staff with updating the inventory of the firearms in their permanent collection. So, what a deal. Two of my favorite things, history and guns. And today we're going to talk about a rather special Smith and Wesson revolver that dates back to 1875. At that period of time in American history, the United States was in the throes of the Industrial Revolution, and that spawned a lot of entrepreneurs and inventors seeking to capture the significant market in firearms. And of course, the Civil War created a huge demand for firearms. Now, the first issue firearm that was a cartridge revolver was a Smith and Wesson American No. 3. Very similar to the revolver we're seeing today. However, this is a first model Smith and Wesson Schofield. Major George Schofield was an officer in the 10th Cavalry Regiment. Now, the 9th and 10th Cavalry Regiments were Buffalo soldiers. And Schofield sought an improvement to the existing revolver that would make it easier for a cavalryman on horseback to unload and reload his revolver. So his patent was this latch, which moved from the barrel to the frame. That allowed the ability to open the revolver with one hand. Now, in a situation, it would have bumped that against his saddle or his leg, and you'll see that the ejector star rises, the empties are ejected, and the extractor snaps back into place. The cavalry person could then close that revolver, switch it to his rein hand, and reload. Close the gun, and be back in the fight. There were some problems with the Schofield. Some of the things that gave it the advantage of an instant or very rapid unload and reload also meant that there were more moving parts, it was somewhat fragile, it was more difficult to repair in the field. Perhaps one of the most serious issues was the fact that it was chambered for a proprietary cartridge called the .45 Schofield, and that was somewhat shorter than the cartridge that fit the 1873 Colt single-action Army. And the military being the military, it was inevitable that at some point a unit with Schofield revolvers would get Colt ammunition, which was useless to them. So that was one reason that the Schofield was taken out of service and sold as surplus. When that happened, in the mid-1880s, about 600 of those revolvers were purchased by the Wells Fargo Express Company. And this particular revolver has the stamp right here on the lower part of the barrel that indicates it was one of those 600 revolvers. There were originally, we started with 3,000 in the original government contract. We're down to 600, and this is one of those 600 revolvers that was purchased and used by Wells Fargo Express messengers. Now, we've had this stamp authenticated by members of the Smith and Wesson Historical Foundation and the Smith and Wesson Collectors Association. They believe that is an authentic stamp, and this is a legitimate Wells Fargo first model Smith and Wesson Schofield. The fact that that stamp is on there increases the value of the revolver to the point that they told us there are probably more fakes out there, more counterfeits, than there are legitimate Smith & Wesson revolvers. Interesting to note that there's a couple of notches in the grip. Nobody knows what that means. It's one of those things you'd like to know the story, but you probably won't. So anyway, Smith & Wesson, first model, Schofield with Wells Fargo Express markings. I'd encourage you, if you have questions or comments about anything that we do on these videos, that you write those comments or record those comments below, or get in touch with us at the museum. And in particular, if you have more information that we could add to our files on our collection, we'd appreciate that very much. Thank you, and have a good day. Be safe.